Well, hi, this is Just Be Well, the channel about whole life wellness. I'm Dr. Sult, a medical doctor and functional medicine practitioner.
I'm Elizabeth, a registered nurse and whole life coach.
And we have been talking the last several weeks about our program, Rebalance to Heal, which is really a way of optimizing the limbic system. And the limbic system is a switchboard deep in the brain that really controls immunity and autonomic nervous system, your biological clock, circadian rhythms, hormones, the whole ball of wax. And when those switches get stuck, as they often do in chronic illness, they cause the whole system to go out of whack. So what have we talked about so far?
The first week we talked about supplements. 3 specific supplements to take kind of at the start of this program. And these are just to kind of get you primed to be able to continue on with the subsequent steps.
The idea of the supplements is if you're kind of already revved up and living in fight or flight, it's pretty tough to sit down. Mm-hmm. It's sort of antithetical to survival if you're being chased by a saber-toothed tiger to sit down and meditate. So the supplements are just the first step to help calm your physiology so that you can attend to part 2, which was heart math.
Yep. The M-Wave device specifically is what we talked about.
The M-Wave device, and it's a biofeedback device that measures your heart rate variability, which is a direct measure of your autonomic nervous system. And it really shaves months to years off of your meditation journey. It really teaches you how to recognize when you're in a coherent, and coherence is a heart math term, which sort of means a meditative state.
Yeah, when you're connected to your heart, basically
Connected
is
to
what
your
it
heart.
is, through breathing.
And it's an interesting thing. There's far more information coming from the heart to the brain than from the brain to the heart. And the heart has, by far, orders of magnitude larger electromagnetic field. In fact, most of the electromagnetic field that surrounds a living thing, a human in particular, is the electromagnetic field of the heart. And electromagnetic fields, when people and their pets are in close proximity, they actually interact. And you can actually measure this. Just gazing into your puppy's eyes, as I was doing earlier today, just helps you feel profoundly relaxed. Or just being near your dog or cat or parrot or whatever. So it's an interesting... Or loved one. Yeah, very much so. Or loved one. And so it's a very interesting technology, very profound. And then... Good morning, Jane.
Good morning, Jane.
And then we talked about your sensory integration kit.
Grounding kit.
Grounding kit, yeah. And just tell us a little bit about that.
So with the grounding kit, basically the goal of it is to bring your senses into the present moment. So this kit is actually something I carry in my bag or my purse. But it's much more than just a kit. I have a kit, but also I can use my 5 senses at any time, no matter where I am. So right now, for instance, I can look around me and see, the green trees. I can hear the breeze. I can hear the cars. Just things that bring yourself into the present moment and away from possibly, feelings of anxiousness, those fleeting thoughts, sometimes those things that spiral out of control. When really, if we just remain present in the here and now, some of that can melt away.
Yeah, so I'm looking over here at this gnarly old cedar tree, which I love. It reminds me of the really weathered trees right at tree line in the high mountains that I love so much. Yeah, it's beautiful to be in nature, and nature has been shown to be very calming. I've got a wonderful book called Nature Deficit Disorder, and it is about how kids just don't get outside anymore, and they don't, we know now from a scientific perspective that trees give off pheromones, and you've probably heard of this thing called forest bathing, which is really just taking a walk in the forest. It kind of comes out of Japan. But there's been some collaborative studies between Stanford University in the United States and the University of Tokyo, and they've discovered that in the essential oils that trees elaborate out of their leaves and pine needles and whatever, there are pheromones, and they communicate with us, and they're actually soothing and immune, not activating, but supportive. They create resilience. So being outdoors, really powerful. And then today we're talking about our morning ritual.
And really, there is a step in between these two.
Oh, thank you.
It's the 5 modifiable lifestyle factors,
Yeah.
but I know we have discussed that a lot, and we have a lot of information out about that already.
Yeah,
so
thanks for that.
it's just kind of a step that we're leapfrogging, but we did make references to it.
Yep, and it's super important, right? But again, you're in, you've been sick a long time. You're not feeling well. It takes getting to the point of being ready to really embrace cooking and chopping vegetables and all that stuff. So,
and that's why it's 4th. I mean,
And
not
that's why
that
it's
it's
fourth,
4th
yeah.
in importance, but it's really 4th in probably what is going to set you up to succeed.
Yep.
So, we just kind of prime you along the way.
Yep. And good morning,
Fran.
Yeah. Hi. So, why a morning ritual? What's up with that?
Morning ritual, it really is a time of transformation. So we have kind of specific questions that we ask ourselves, or some mornings I have asked myself these questions just all over in general, not even, typically on a day-to-day I'll ask them, but in general I've asked myself, and in the front of my notebook I have that. So some mornings it's just reviewing those, kind of like an affirmation almost. But it's really, this part is very important, this time that you take really sitting in these questions and relishing in the end of it is really about gratitude, and there's also some free writing. But it is a time of transformation. We can have the best intentions, but if we don't really put into place something in our day like this, I think that it's really difficult to succeed.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's just setting aside a little bit. I'm just checking the Sherry. Hi. Just setting aside a little bit of time to set the tone. Really, we call it the AM ritual, but I think it's best done twice a day, morning and evening. Set the tone for the morning, for the day, and set the tone for the evening and the night. And most people, the alarm goes off and you hit the floor running, right?
Or you hit snooze.
Or you hit snooze 17 times.
And then you really hit the floor running.
And then you really hit the floor running. And it's sort of a sprint to the coffee machine, and then from the coffee machine it's a sprint to the toaster, and then eating toast on your way out the door, on your way to work, or chasing the kids and trying to get them ready for school. And even though school's at home these days about half the time, whatever it is, mornings tend to be very hectic. And when I was a resident, we didn't get very much sleep. You were on call every 3rd night, and that night you were on call, you worked about 30 hours in a row, and blah, blah, blah. And there were a lot of, guys would come schlepping, or guys or gals would come schlepping out of the call room, and they're, wrinkled up, slept in greens and whatever. And I thought that a shower was worth 30 minutes of sleep. So I would get up, I would take a shower, I would put on my clothes.
30 minutes? It takes you 30 minutes to shower?
No. I'm saying it's worth 30 minutes. It takes 30 minutes to get up, take a shower, get dressed,
I was like,
comb your hair.
It's like my teenage daughter.
Well, I'm kind of a teenage daughter. So anyway, so I would get up and I'd have a tie on, and we'd go on rounds, and everybody thought I was the attendant because I was the one with the tie on. But it sets the tone for your day. If you come out one eye open and kind of schlepping in and tripping over your own shoelaces, that's a whole different day, right? That's what this is about, is setting the tone. So what's your essence?
Love is usually what comes to me I ask myself that question.
So the first question is,
Compassion.
the first question of our morning ritual is, what's your essence? You know, what is my essence? And that could mean, what is my essence in general? So I like to think my essence, that bit of me that is quintessentially me, I like to think it's compassion. Not every day. Some days I'm not very compassionate. But this helps set that tone.
Right, this is a good reminder.
It's a good reminder, right?
Yeah.
And so, but then there's also the question, not just in general, but what about today? What about today? What is my essence today? And some mornings, my first response to that question is, who gives a shit? You know, I don't have a good attitude, but doing this exercise changes that attitude. So what is my essence? And you know, essence, I got some papers on my lap here. Essence is a big word, which has a lot of meaning. So, you know, in philosophy, it's the intrinsic nature or indispensable quality of something, especially something abstract, that determines its character. So that's what we're looking for. What is your base fundamental character? And what is it ideally? What do you think of when you think of essence?
What do I think of? I think of like, it's, you know, your body, your being, your soul, your spirit.
Yeah, that's right. Those are all sort of synonyms for what we're trying to get after. You know, what is your soul, your spirit? What is a soul anyway? What do you mean when you say that?
Soul is my like innermost being.
Yeah, your essence.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what is my essence? And we're really trying to get in touch with that depth of who we are. Some more things here.
Good morning, Bridget.
Yeah. So what is my essence? And this is something like this morning I just meditated on this list. This is something I've memorized, and I got to turn the page back to where we were. And so I just meditated on this, and you know, facial expressions and mood, it's a two-way street, right? So I've come to decide that when I meditate, I set a bit of a smirk, a bit of a smile on my mouth, in my face, and I meditate on this. So what is my essence? Just putting that smile on my face improves my mood. And it's not just hocus pocus, it's physiology. It's a two-way street. Your mood sets your face, but your face sets your mood. So you can choose. Somebody having fun over there. And so what is my essence? And then the next question, what is my offering? What is your offering?
Some days like this morning when I was doing this, I wrote that my offering was my intuition and my coaching and serving.
Yeah, service and coaching and intuition. I love that. So what is my offering? And we use these sort of out of context words on purpose to get you to stop for a second and think about, what does the word mean? Offering. You know, we normally think of that, maybe it's something we do at church, we throw the money in the thing. But I would like you to think of it, if you're going to think of it in that terms, think of it as the widow's mite, right? The story of the woman who really couldn't afford to give anything, but she gave the little bit she could, and somebody made fun of her in church, and the sermon is about how her contribution was actually far greater, right?
And I think, you know, a lot of us with chronic illness, it is just that. I mean, we are giving from a space of like, you know, just emptiness and exhaustion. And, you know, this is a time to fill that up. You know, when you sit before, and I do meditate first as well a little bit. I do kind of a guided meditation just to ground myself and to really tap into my intuition, and then I ask myself these questions. But that fills me up so that I have more to give from that spot of sometimes, or that space of sometimes not having enough to give.
Bill, hi.
Hi, Bill.
Good to see you, man. Yeah, so some days my offering, maybe it's nothing more than kindness.
Smile.
A smile. Maybe, you know, I'm not not a rich man. I do holistic medicine. That doesn't pay the bills many days, right? I give away a lot of stuff. But
yep, I'm a small business owner right now.
yeah, during the time of no shopping. So, but you know, so what? We can still, kindness is worth an awful lot, isn't it?
It is, yeah. It's really worth everything.
So what is my essence? Who am I? Who am I? I'm asking that question. Who am I? What is my essence? And then, gosh, okay, that's my essence. What do I have to offer the world today? What is my offering? And for me this morning, that was just meditation. For you, it was writing.
And I just wrote a few things
with,
I did the meditation first, and then when I asked myself the questions, I would literally just put down the first 2 or 3 words that came to me, and I went to the next question. And then when I was done with the questions, I did a short amount of free writing.
So, and that's the third piece of this puzzle, is some kind of stream of consciousness, trying to allow the subconscious to become conscious, or try to allow that heart-centered wisdom to become conscious. You know, we talk about having an achy heart or a gut reaction or whatever. Those are real embodied somatic memories. And how do we bring those to the surface, and how do we release them? Or in the case of affirming ones, how do we embrace them? And this is really, really powerful stuff. This is a way of setting a tone and setting an attitude for the day that really changes your life. So a bit of stream of consciousness. You care to share anything that came up today, or?
I actually did that at the end today, and I can't, you know, that's the thing, I would have to look back to remember what I wrote, because it was just kind of me writing what came off of those other things that I wrote and what I was feeling in the moment.
And so what came up from, go ahead, what you were feeling in the moment, did you want to say that, or?
It's okay.
Okay.
I don't need to add it.
So for me, what came up was, we've just been reading a book, My Grandmother's Hands, about racism and sort of a solution for racism. And what came up
Trauma healing.
What came up for me was sort of the dirty pain, shame-based pain. What am I afraid to confront because it brings me such deep shame in my life, right? And so you release that and you bring it up, and suddenly it's just shame. It's not, it's not real. Shame is sort of an emotion that isn't terribly useful, really. And when you start to view the things that you see in your deepest, darkest places, and you realize that they're being held captive there because of shame, suddenly, you can start to release some of those things. So for me, I really was processing sort of junk, right? Just junk, baggage that's surrounding shame.
Yeah.
And so you think about your essence, who you are at your core. You think about, what is my offering to the world and my family and the day. You let your subconscious well up into the conscious. And then we ask, how will I apprehend joy? What a weird word, apprehend. What does that even mean?
To me, it means to seize.
Yeah, apprehend, seize, arrest. You're apprehending a criminal. Well, we're apprehending a moment. We're apprehending joy. And where is joy? And hello, Andrea.
Hi.
Where is joy?
Joy for me is in the present moment. So when I think of apprehending joy, to me it means or signals me to become more present.
Yeah, mindful. Be right here.
Be here now, because there are things in the present moment to always be thankful for.
If you have one foot in the past and one foot in the future, you have nothing to stand on in this moment. And this moment is when everything is happening. There's nothing that is happening at any moment other than right now. So being absolutely present, that's how, you know, both of my daughter-in-laws are amazing human beings, and they somehow, in the midst of insanity with little kids, and you have a little one too, and you do this, they do something completely outrageous, like on purpose, just because they want to see what'll happen. They just pour the milk on the table, right? Just because they've never done it. They don't know. They're learning. And it's so easy to go like kaboom, right? But if you're really present and you realize they're exploring, wow, it's a whole different attitude about it. You're so good at it. I'm so not so good at it. Sometimes her littlest one, who's just a wonderful guy, he'll do stuff and it's like, what are you thinking? Well, he was thinking about exploring, right? And you see that. You see, it's so beautiful. I have to like work a little harder at being present sometimes. But that's really how I apprehend joy. And yeah, apprehend joy. It's all around us all the time. But it's usually, you know, there are memories that are joyful, but the real joy is in this moment and being fully present. How will you manifest love?
By giving love.
So by giving love, yeah. I love, what's the quote you say about self-love?
Love yourself and watch your world change.
Yeah.
Instead of, you know, trying to change yourself first and then loving yourself. It's love yourself and then
yeah,
watch the change.
So most of us are trying somehow, I'm inadequate, I need to change. I'm inadequate, I need to change. And if I could just change, I could love myself. But what she says so beautifully is, no, just love yourself and then watch the change. Because from love, suddenly better choices emerge instead of chasing some illusion.
Yeah, and really that's what about, you know, some days, you know, I'm the one who needs more love. So I give myself more love instead of, you know, searching in another to give it to me.
Searching for love in all the wrong places.
Yeah, if you're searching for it in another, it's, or if
play
you're
that-
dependent on
play
it
that
in
record
another,
backwards.
yeah, it's only going to bring you pain some days. So you really need to have that kind of that self-nurturing, like, you know, loving your child or, you know, loving your pet, really directing that love towards yourself.
We're often very good at pretty strong, mostly unconditional love towards our children, especially our little children. But the first thing that we say about ourselves is, you lousy, doggone, steaming hunk of dung, instead of having the compassion to recognize that we're having a hard day, or we just made a mistake, or it was inconsequential anyway. So how will I manifest love? Well, simply by loving.
By being that love.
And love is an infinite quantity. People get confused about this, you know, it's infinite means forever. So you can love your first child, and it feels like you couldn't possibly love anything more, right? Your first child, oh my God. And then you have another child. Well, you love that child just as much. And it was infinite the first time. How could there possibly be any left? Well, there is. There's an infinite amount left. And you can love your spouse, and you can love your brother and your sister and your friends. You don't have to choose. Love is not, well, if I love this person, I can't love that person. No, you can love them all. And that is growing into some emotional intelligence, because many of us think that we can only have one best friend or one good friend, or, you know, we can only have limited amount of love, but it's not true. Love is infinite. It's actually probably only, human emotion is probably the only thing that's actually infinite, including the universe. And then one last thing for this morning ritual, and that is gratitude. And I like to think of at least 3 very specific things that I hold in deep gratitude. And I like to vary it because some things aren't so obvious. So some days I wake up, I'm in a crappy mood. What a surprise. No, any of you ever had a crappy day? Right? It happens. And so I'm in a crappy mood. And what do I have? I'm grateful. I'm not grateful for anything. This is just blah, blah, blah. Well, all of a sudden I start thinking about, gosh, in my lifetime, there have been a lot of places that have just been absolutely war-torn. I remember Sarajevo had the Olympics, and just a few years later, you couldn't go out on the street without a sniper trying to kill you. I said, well, gosh, man, I'm so grateful I don't live there, right? I'm so grateful that my roof doesn't leak, and on a day like today where it's chilly and outside, like where we are, we're going to go in the house, it's going to be warm. We don't have a dirt floor. A lot of beautiful things to be very, very, very deeply grateful for. Have family, have a new family, have my established, grown family, have a new family I'm living with. Have beautiful, wonderful things to be deeply grateful for. Yeah, that's right, Andrea. I've said that a few times, haven't I? Love is infinite. Yeah. So, what do you have to be grateful for? So these are these 6 things, and think about it. 1 minute a piece in the morning, 6 minutes.
Yep. Sometimes even a little bit less. Like I said this morning, I literally jotted down 2 or 3 words.
Yeah.
Granted, at the end, I probably made up for that in just my extra little writing, but yeah, it doesn't have to take.
Right.
It doesn't have to take an hour.
Right.
Some days maybe you feel like doing an hour and you have an hour. Some days maybe it's just about, reading that first page of your journal with these down kind of as an affirmation or just to get you off on that right foot for the day.
Yeah. Yeah, or maybe maybe you've decided that you and a few friends are going to have a retreat day. And you spend an hour on each one of these things and you discuss it. You have a little circle, an affirmation circle, where it's not about questioning the other person, it's about affirming the other person, and you just spend an hour on each of these 6 items and discuss them. Or maybe you have 5 minutes on each one, and it's 30-minute exercise in the morning. Or maybe it's just you read through them as an affirmation, or maybe you take a minute on each. So it's extremely flexible. There's so much that you can do with this very simple thing. Can you push that button and see what else has been said there? No, it says see more.
Oh, okay.
So I can't read it, but maybe you can.
So Andrew said, I remember you telling me how love is infinite when I struggled with my ex's girlfriend in my kids' lives. Her loving my kids doesn't take away the love I have from them. That was a very helpful perspective.
You know what else is interesting about that? Yeah, I mean, my 2 sons are actually my stepsons, and we've struggled with that, and now we have another blended family going here, and girlfriends, and I'm this intruder from outside, and all kinds of things, right? And one perspective is, those are my kids. Another perspective is, my children are so lucky to have so many people that love them. In fact, when my 2 boys were young, we tried to emphasize that. You're so lucky, there are so many people that love you. And my younger son was at school one day, and the teacher actually said that to him, because something came up about his dad and stepmother and mother and stepfather. And, she said, oh, you're so lucky you have so many people that love you. And his response was, yeah, that's what we say at our house. It just changes a perspective for the kids too.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be limiting and, even if your tongue is bleeding, sometimes you just need to say, oh, it's so nice you had so much fun with your daddy's girlfriend or whatever, Even though you're bleeding out the side of your mouth when you're saying it, it's good for the kids.
Jane says, love gives life meaning and life gives love purpose.
Yeah, that's right. Love is a very powerful thing, isn't it? And purpose. So one of our biases, one of my biases for sure, is that meaning, purpose, place in society, sense of community is more powerful than any biochemical marker. So I believe, and there's data to support my belief, it's not just something I made up, but my belief, my bias is that most of the plagues of modern society, the excess of cancer, the excess of heart disease, hypertension, strokes, diabetes, yada, yada, yada. Certainly there are diet and lifestyle pieces to that puzzle.
And toxins.
And environmental toxins and all that stuff. But what makes us most resilient is a sense of community, place, purpose, and meaning. And this kind of exercise every day cultivates that and helps you see that larger community. You know, I'm kind of an isolate. I'm a hermit. I'd be perfectly happy sitting at home all by my little self, reading a book all day long. And I get sometimes kind of I can't even think of the word. I get ornery. And I think, well, you know, nobody gives a shit about me, and nobody cares, and I don't have any friends, and yada, yada. And then out of the blue, somebody calls and says, hey, you want to do something? Well, you know what? I didn't lift a single finger to try to get somebody to do something. Somebody actually wanted to do something with me. It's kind of a miraculous thing that...
Right. It's nice we forget, too, that we can just as easily reach out as someone reaching to us.
Yeah, that's my point, is that I'm frankly a lousy friend to many people. There are many people I care deeply about, including my own brother, who had a very serious medical problem recently, and I reached out to him a bunch during that crisis, and then, you know, he got through it and life went on, and I haven't reached out to him as much as I should. And maybe that's what I need to meditate on this afternoon. Maybe I need to just make a phone call. But I'm terrible at it. So, you know, we all have our limitations in life, and we can, I like to say, run with your strengths, but try to bag up your limitations and drag them along and try to improve them along the way too. So that's the morning ritual. It really is a piece of the puzzle of self-exploration. The next area of the Rebalance to Heal limbic rebalancing system of ours is an adaptation of a westernized form of Zen called Mondo Zen, a wonderful book written called The Heart of Zen, if you want to read about it. It's about the very first Westerner who was ever graduated, if you will, as a Zen master, a traditional Japanese Zen master. And he realized that a lot of the training had a lot to do with ancient Japanese cultural icons that Western minds will never understand. And so he translated a lot of this, the hundreds of teachings in Zen, to about 13 of them. And we go through a modification of those 13 Mondo Zen trainings in what we call insight trainings. And they're designed to take you on a path from sort of our ego mind to understanding that our ego is a construct, and that actually you are an observer much deeper than that, that can see and feel but not have to respond to emotions and so on. Not that you don't have emotions anymore, it's just you have a different relationship to them. Suddenly, anger becomes caring. Think about that for a minute. Imagine if you really deeply realize that when you're angry, it's because you deeply care about something. And now how could you better respond to that if you really deeply understood that that welling up of anger was a profound sense of caring, right? So that's a different kind of relationship to your emotions, which I haven't mastered, but I'm working. on. And that's really what the insight trainings are about, is getting that sort of different perspective to get a deeper understanding of what these emotions are really trying to tell us. You know, what is fear? Well, fear is on some level curiosity. That sounds weird, doesn't it? But fear can be curiosity at a deep level. So that's what we're going to talk about next week. We won't talk about all of it because it's a big, big topic. We might do a couple of weeks on it. And let us know if there are other topics you're interested in. What are you interested in talking about?
Me? I'm interested in talking about emotions and kind of the, you know, when you think of toxins, a lot of times you think of things like in our environment, like
Lead
maybe,
or something.
yeah, toxic metals or things like that. But I tend to gravitate more towards like emotional toxins, or perhaps emotions that are suppressed that you haven't dealt with, past traumas, yeah, things along those lines. So that's
And that's what we're going to be
interest.
talking about next week.
Yeah, except I've never read the book. I haven't done anything with the Zen, so I'll just have to kind of throw in my perspective of my practices with the reflection
Yeah, your
of that.
practices are very congruent with Mondo Zen. So
Right. I think it's the 13 steps that threw me off when I started with
13 is not your lucky number, or what?
No, 13 is my lucky number, actually. My son was born on, you know, the 13th of the 13th year, and 13 is a good number, but yeah, sometimes it's just the thought of 13 steps. But I'm excited to hear about it more since I haven't taken the time to dive into it.
Let's see, what else is here?
Oh,
Oh, well, thank you for
Yeah.
the happy birthday. Yes, Bridget,
Monday.
thank you also. And Jane, yeah, it was Monday. The day in China, a giant piece of a spaceship almost landed on a school. Did you see that on the news? Holy mackerel.
I did not see that.
Yeah. Yeah, auspicious day in China. Anyway, well, thank you for your birthday wishes, and it was a wonderful day, thanks to Elizabeth. She made it a wonderful day. And so next Thursday, 10 a.m. Central Time, we will be talking about our adaptation of Mondo Zen. We call them insight trainings. And it is something that moves forward, because really to get to these deep meditative insights, you need to have some facility with meditation. So, you know, doing the work with the M-Wave, the heart math work, takes months to years off of, you know, becoming very proficient with meditation. You know, these poor young monks, they go into the monastery at, you know, 7 years of age or something, and they just sit there scratching their nose because they're trying to figure out why everybody's sitting still. And it takes years and years and years to become a meditation master. Well, with physiological feedback in this modern era, we can discover much more quickly where these zones of meditation are. And that's what the M-Wave does for us. It helps us discover. Feedback is, I like to say, it's like throwing a ball. You throw a ball and it goes over here. Oh, well, that's too far that way. I was trying to throw it to that guy right there. So then I throw it and it goes over here. Well, I overcompensated. So then I throw it and it goes up here. And then I throw it and it goes down there. And then I throw it and it goes there. And, you know, I keep zoning in, and pretty soon I'm throwing it consistently right there because I had the feedback. And without feedback, you know, you might just throw it over there all the time.
It's like throwing it blindfolded. You don't know where it went.
Right. And maybe, you know, like one Zen master likes to say that enlightenment is an accident, and meditation makes you accident prone. Well, let's put some science into this. There's tons of science, and M-Wave device helps us with feedback so that we don't have to have the accident. So that's an important piece of the puzzle that gets us into the meditative state so that we can then begin to have these deeper insights in the Zen training.
I'm trying to do this with my fingers on the way. Oh, Bill, happy birthday.
Oh, thank you, Bill. All right, so I think we've
Yes.
yeah we're at 10:41. I thought this was going to be a short discussion, but apparently it's a long discussion. So we'll see you next week, 10 a.m. Central, Thursday, whatever the date is. I don't know. Next week.
A week from so the 17th, because
17th.
today's the 10th.
Okay. Wow, you can add and everything. All right. Thanks a lot. See ya.